Overall pick Jayden Daniels getting his share of reps, looking sharp during Commanders' OTAs and Cliff Kingsbury's offense. First-year head coach Dan Quinn on the 2023 Heisman winner.
The situation work we've been working really hard on, and so some of the timing and mechanics are different from college in a 2-minute setting than it is in the NFL. And so to see every day him going through those mechanics at a 2 minute. So the other day of, at the end of the half, working down in a clock situation where it's still moving on a first down. And so like that type of urgency. And so seeing him being comfortable in that environment, I would say that's one example of many that shows the work that he's put in there.
Not a long track record of Washington playing rookie quarterbacks in season openers. The Commanders franchise has only done it 3 times since 1950, and RG3, the only one in the Super Bowl era. Lewis, and back here with the guys, you hear what Quinn was saying specifically with Daniels impressing in the 2-minute drill here. When you hear that, what kind of expectations do you have Daniels in this offense over the next 3 months when it comes to leading up to the season opener?
Look, it's hard not to get super excited, Kevin, about Jayden Daniels, and I think everyone knows how I feel about him and how he accepted the challenge at LSU, mastered it, became the Heisman Trophy winner. He's going to accept the challenge now of playing on a football team where 3/5 of the offensive line is going to be new. They have, one of the most dynamic wide receivers in the NFL, and Terry McLaurin. Jahan Dotson is a playmaker in his own right. They draft Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State, who's a fantastic athlete at tight end, and they got Austin Eckler. So he's got some help and a developing offensive line. So those things have to kind of work around him. But as far as himself and what he is doing, look, you've seen some of the clips that the Commanders have put out there in terms of some of the throws that he has made already in OTAs, and it's spectacular. And I've had correspondence with people down there who have said, look, very rarely does the ball hit the ground. He puts the ball exactly in where it needs to be put. He can throw with touch. He can throw with velocity. He is a student of the game, and he is someone, I think most importantly, Kevin, that the players will gravitate towards already. They want to be around him. They want to be accountable to him. They want to do better for him. That's pretty damn cool. He is going to take that town by storm as everything else around him grows along with him. I have 100% confidence in that.
Well, listen, you heard Lewis talk about all those examples, and you heard Dan Quinn talk about how many examples there are where situations were that Jayden Daniels impressed. And so this job is setting up for Jayden Daniels to win, to be the opening day starting quarterback, and they've made it that way too. They already had a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football, and if you look at the coaching staff that they put in place, at least 5 of the assistant coaches on the offensive side of the football have directly coached quarterbacks at some point in their past. They're all experienced in working with quarterbacks. They're all invested in making Jayden Daniels shine. He's got the ability to do it, and it's setting up for him to be able to show that on opening day to become the face of this franchise moving forward.
Boog, this is an LSU to LSU question. When we watched Jayden Daniels on film all last season, he can move. And that is something he's going to need when you look at this offensive line. What concerns do you have about the guys protecting him?
Well, there's always concerns, especially about this offensive line. But I think it's important to know that Jayden Daniels, his athletic ability will buy this offensive line some time. And another thing, Kev, his ability to get rid of the ball as quick as he did. Let's understand, he was the ultimate playmaker at LSU last year. I mean, he had to make plays up and down the field. He had to make plays in and out of the pocket, and all he did was do it over and over, time and time again. His poise in the pocket, because he wants to be a pocket passer, will allow him to get rid of the ball quick. His motion is compact. He delivers the ball accurately. But if and when this offensive line does break down, I think that's when we're going to see what some compare to the second coming of Lamar Jackson. Because let me tell you, Kev, he is electric when he gets out of the pocket. The only thing he has to learn is you can't take big hits. Slide, get out of bounds. Sometimes he's too confident in that athletic ability.
Okay. So I really wanted to talk about this because Jayden Daniels has really not gotten a lot of media attention with the Washington Commanders. I mean, there's been so much talk about Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams, of course. And Jayden Daniels, like with the Commanders, like for whatever reason, like it has not been a hot topic nationally, at least in the media. And I think Jayden Daniels has potential to be huge because I really like what the Commanders have done. I think Dan Quinn, and again, you guys know that I'm a big in favor of offensive head coaches, but at the very least, we know Dan Quinn can bring a great culture, and this is what the Commanders really need, a great culture, great leadership. He's going to obviously do great things with that defense because he is a great defensive mind. And the big benefit that the Commanders have is that they have Cliff Kingsbury. And I think he is a great offensive mind. I really, really do. I think he was used as a scapegoat in Arizona. He had a weird relationship with Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray is a difficult player to coach. That's just a reality. And so I think Cliff Kingsbury was trying his best with like backup of a backup of a backup of a quarterback. That whole team was decimated. The owner's weird. The GM left for like personal reasons or whatever. Like that was a whole disastrous situation in Arizona. And I don't think Cliff Kingsbury deserves the brunt of that blame. I mean, it's just absurd. So I think the Commanders got a steal with Kingsbury, and I think you essentially got a great offensive mind now with a great raw rookie quarterback who he's going to have a lot of familiarity working with that style quarterback because of the quarterbacks that Cliff Kingsbury has worked with in the past, right? Even at the NFL level with, of course, Kyler Murray. And the benefit with Jayden Daniels is that Jayden Daniels seems to have a significantly better head on his shoulders than a lot of these other quarterbacks and in years past coming out of the draft. I love the personality of Jayden Daniels, and so much that I always evaluate a rookie quarterback coming out of the draft is humbleness and humility. To me, that is just so important because you don't know what it's like to play in the NFL. You don't know what it's like to truly run an NFL pro offense. And we use those things of like, oh, they ran a pro offense in college. Yes and no, all that. It's different. Everything is different in the NFL than college. It just is. If it wasn't, and if it was a lot more straightforward transition, then there would be no bust. You would know exactly who's going to dominate in the NFL because they dominated in college. It's obviously not the case. So humility and humbleness is so important for a young quarterback because they are at the mercy of their coaching staff and some of the players around them, some of the veteran leadership that they have around them, because they are learning. They need to know what they can and can't do. And honestly, it kind of changes every day. And the benefit now that the Commanders have is that they have a legitimate offensive mind in Cliff Kingsbury. And that matters because sometimes you get a young quarterback and they go to this and they have the humility and the humbleness and the eager to learn, but they don't have the right coaches in front of them. They don't have the right voices in front of them. And then that kind of becomes a significant problem. So that's why here, I just think that Jayden Daniels is in a great place with Cliff Kingsbury. And also now it's balanced out with Dan Quinn, who's also a great defensive mind and I think will be a great head coach. But also his personality meshes. He's not this like old school, really hardened. And because I don't think that would be something that a Daniels would thrive in. I think Daniels is going to thrive with a more of this more new age, more patient coaching staff, right? We have like a couple different types of coaching staffs. We have like the really hard, like, let's go. It's just, just nails. We're going hard. You're going to walk on glass and eat coal, right? The more old school approach. And then you have the more newer, right? The more Kevin O'Connell, Cliff Kingsbury, like just a little bit more casual, still focused, still making moves, using intelligence, right? The whole working smarter, not harder type of approach, which I think is also very advantageous, especially for some of these younger guys. And so I think it's just one of those things that I think so many of these quarterbacks in the draft have really gone to perfect scenarios, perfect situations for their personality, for their skill set, and where they need to be. And I think Jayden Daniels is definitely there with that. I mean, I think he absolutely is with the Commanders. I think the expectations are not very high for the Commanders because the Commanders haven't done anything for years and years and years. They have a new coach. They have a new OC. They obviously have a new quarterback. So no one's expecting Jayden Daniels to come in there, and they're not saying, this is a ready-made team. They're just a quarterback away. Let's go. Right? No one's saying that. So I think even the expectations are going to be tempered, and I think it's just going to benefit him. I think he's going to be able to learn and grow in a calmer environment within the locker room, at least, right? And on the field, because you have some of these other expectations, right? Caleb Williams, it's like the expectations are you got to get to the playoffs. Let's go. You have Bo Nix. The whole idea is Sean Payton ruining the Broncos right now? Should they have gotten rid of Russell Wilson? What's going on with Bo Nix, right? Like, you have all of these other situations where they get quarterbacks, and it's like, you better perform right now, otherwise it's going to be sounding the alarm, disaster, disaster, disaster. And that is just not where Jayden Daniels is with the Commanders, and so, of course, I think that'll greatly benefit him. I think what Jayden Daniels does on the field is really awesome. I agree, the offensive line, of course, is going to be tricky, and the problem is when you are a mobile quarterback, you then want to use that to your advantage in the NFL. And it can be both a blessing and a curse, because since you're trying to figure out the NFL still and trying to overcome some of the deficits of your team, like a poor offensive line, if you're mobile, then it'll be something that you rely on, which isn't a terrible thing, because it's what probably has the greatest the most easily to transfer over from the pros to the NFL, right? Because if you're lightning quick and can escape, you're lightning quick and can escape, right? Like, it's just the speed doesn't lie. Although, of course, they're going to be faster in the NFL. But the hits, that is the big thing. And it's just, for whatever reason, these quarterbacks, they just think that they're invincible. They think they can take these big hits again and again and again. They think they're different, even though they have the track record. They have the decades of quarterbacks of just getting demolished and knowing that it injures them, shortens their career, whatever it may be. But you just like can't get it out of them. I'm hopeful they'll be able to do that with Jayden Daniels, because he'll be able to escape, extend the play, maybe push and get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, or even obviously longer, and then just getting out of bounds, sliding, just doing it, right? Like, don't make the mistakes of these previous quarterbacks of just thinking that they're invincible. And I'm hopeful that, like a Cliff Kingsbury or even a Dan Quinn, that could be one of the benefits of having a defensive head coach, of just being like, I teach my guys to demolish you, right? Like, this is what I'm coaching our guys to do when a quarterback is mobile. We don't want this to happen to you. We don't want you to get demolished. So I'm hopeful that the synergy between having a really bright, intelligent offensive coordinator with a really smart defensive head coach, that synergy will be able to work well with Jayden Daniels. And then who knows? Maybe they're a dark horse to actually sneak in the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to win the division. They could potentially, maybe, depending on how transcendent Daniels really is, sneak into the playoffs in a wild card. I don't know, right? It also depends on how good Caleb Williams is with the Bears. Like, I think, it'll be interesting. But I don't think there should really be any strong expectations for the Commanders. It should just be like, do the Commanders right the ship? Are they trending in the right direction? And I really absolutely think they do. I think the hires they made, the draft picks that they got, they are absolutely drafting in the right direction. And compare it to a team like the Cowboys, who I think are trending in the wrong direction, and the Giants, who are trending in the wrong direction. So I think even in that division, you're trending upwards. And, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. It's just to kind of be trending upwards, and hopefully over time, you then become a legitimate contender. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys think about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders? And why do you think that he actually hasn't gotten a lot of media attention? It's just been all Caleb Williams, all Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, and not really a lot of Jayden Daniels. I'm be really curious to hear your thoughts on that one. And do you think that he can kind of hit the ground running and the Commanders can have success rather quickly? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.